So if you've been wondering how to move the arms properly in the downswing, this is the video for you, because I'm going to answer that and give you a brilliant drill for perfect arm movement in the downswing. So I'm Jonathan Chown with JChownGolf. Let's dive right into it. So let's answer that straight away. How do you move your arms in the downswing? And you shouldn't try to move your arms at all. If you've got good body movement, your arms will do exactly what you want them to do. Biggest fault out there for a lot of golfers is they are trying to do far too much with the arms. That'll create a whole host of problems. Steep shaft, over the top golf swing. Depending on how they move it, might drop the club massively on the inside and get stuck too. So we want minimal arm movement, because like I said, if we use the body properly, everything will be taken care of. So for the arms to act exactly how we want them to, without even trying to, we need to do two things quite well. We need to use our rotation very well. So that's not just talking about rotation through the golf ball, where that helps with how the hands and arms move through the ball, but the sequencing of that rotation in the downswing is incredibly important. So we'll get into that. And two, the tilting movement, something that is completely overlooked. So the tilting movement being that inclination we have to the ground with our shoulders and our hips. If that is used properly, then the hands and arms are going to move absolutely ideal. So let's get into the rotation portion. So the rotation element here. So this is incredibly important for arm movement, because one rule of thumb to know here, wherever you rotate, whether it's backswing or downswing, your arms are going to follow. So if I get up to the top of a backswing here, with my arms stretched out and I rotate, you're going to see how my arm is naturally going to follow me. So the sequencing of that rotation is incredibly important. So we have to start it right and we have to continue it going right as well. So how do we do this? So first things first, we need to have that start the downswing starting correctly, because what a lot of golfers will start to do wrong with their rotation, which will influence their arms to do something, would be they'd rotate with the chest far too much, far too early, where you can see that would fly the arms out in front of you. So a player like that might have to think, okay, I need to do something with my arms so they don't fly out in front of me, because they think, oh, bit of an over the top swing when I rotate. Then they might think, okay, let me drop my hands down whilst I do that to negate it. They might be somewhat successful doing that, but then they've ruined their chance of having good low point control because their hands and arms have dropped. Their trail arm will get stuck behind their body, so they might generally get stuck. They'll be all out of sequence. So that's where a player doesn't understand how rotation affects the hands and arms in its sequencing. So let's say a player who does the opposite in their sequencing. They might be too active with their lower body and their chest might be very inactive. Then what happens to them? The hand path drops if you're not getting enough chest rotation at the start of your downswing. Too much hip rotation compared to chest rotation. Hands and arms drop. And then from there, they might think, okay, I've got to do something to get these hands not getting stuck behind me. I don't want to get stuck. So then they might think, okay, let's try and chop down on it with my arms to get them more in front. Where in reality, both of those golfers will be able to get their arms to do what they want with the golf swing if they just get the sequencing events happening properly. So that's where the lower body and mid-torso goes, and the chest just follows along for the ride. So you can see lower body, mid-torso turning, and then the chest starts to rotate shortly after. Then the arms will naturally have this down and out movement. You can see the club would shallow as well. And then it's just a case of continuing to rotate and turning through the golf ball. We then don't want to stall out our rotation and flip. We want to continue to go to curve that hand path around us. That's how we need to move in our rotational sense, for the hands to go and the arms to move how we want them to. So the tilting movement. So tilting. We are tilted to the golf ball as we swing a golf club, because the ball's on the ground. This is not a rotational sport where the ball's in the air and we can be flat shouldered and hipped and swing it. We need to have that tilt because the ball is on the ground. So how does this relate to how the arms move in a downswing? So ultimately, if a player gets up to the top of their swing, they've got this nice tilt of the shoulders, left side down. They've got the nice tilt of the hips, left side down. I might see a lot of players who have their lead side now, so for me, right-handed golfer, the left, start to raise up. So that could also mean the right shoulder dropping down. What is that going to do? That is going to cause the hand path and the arms to significantly drop down towards the ground. So a player not being aware of the movement of the tilting and how it affects the arms, they might think then, okay, my arms are dropping down way too much. I don't know how to move my arms in a downswing. How do I do that? They might think, okay, now I need to counteract that with chucking the arms out in front of me to counteract the negative tilting that I'm having. So really that's not the problem at all. The problem is how you're moving in your tilt. You have to stay where you are inclined towards that golf ball. You are tilted towards that ground. You need to keep that in the downswing. You need to keep that left side down for a right-handed golfer as you're turning through in good sequencing. So if that isn't happening, you're losing that tilt, the arms will drop, then we're not moving our arms properly. So like we said, we want and we should have very minimal movement of those arms, and at least trying to do very minimal movement. So we need to keep that lead side down, at least for around 75% of the downswing till shaft parallel to the ground. That's when our extension portion will always happen, going through the golf ball. Well, that's the lead side extending. That elongates the lead side. That will raise up your tilt. Don't have to worry about that too much. That's a video for another time. I most likely already have multiple videos about that on my channel. So we need to keep that lead side down as we're turning in good sequencing if we want to move our arms properly without even trying. Let's get into a good drill. So a great drill to do for rotational sequencing throughout the entire downswing and the tilting movement, so we can move the arms exactly how I want to without trying, is a hip drill. So yeah, a drill for the hips that's meant for the arms. Crazy that, isn't it? So all we need to do, get an alignment stick, put it through our belt loops just a little bit, so you can see tiny bit coming out here on the right hand side, a lot on the left. So what we need to do here, we need to, in the downswing, make sure that this stick is staying down. So if it's staying down, that means the lead side of my pelvis is staying down, the tilt. If my pelvis is staying in tilt, my upper body sure is as well. And then we want it quickly, as we're starting that downswing, turning down on the round. So that's going to help with the sequencing again in lower body and mid-torso to turn first. So this will be great for the guys who, let's say, are too inactive with the chest as well, because those players do quite often lose their tilt also. So this will keep that in sequence as well. So up to the top of the swing, keep that stick down and go around. That will give us that diagonally down hand path, which ultimately will be good arm movement, keeping up with the pivot. So if we look at one here, slow motion, we're going to see some really good arm movement. And am I trying to move the arms at all? No, I'm not. Remember, downswing is such a fast movement. How are we going to think of what the arms are doing in the space of time that the downswing is happening? If we have good pivot movement, it will happen for us. Stop trying to make golf too difficult. That's why you're not improving. So here we go. Down and around. That's going to get the tilt, that's going to get the rotation. So as we can see there, the down portion, tilt, the turning, the sequencing. Didn't think of one bit with my hands and arms, and what are they doing? Having that nice down and out move, and then I'm just continuing to turn through the golf ball. So this is one of those areas in the golf swing where we certainly don't have to think of a single thing about in relationship to what the arms are doing. There are so many things in the golf swing that you see top players do, and they won't actually be thinking of a single thing for it. One of the biggest mistakes golfers make is they'll see a top player do something and they'll think they must have thought, and practiced to do that for them to do it. Absolutely not. It's like golfers who will be post-impact with their head still down. Well, that's me as well. I have people saying, you've clearly practiced that because your head's down after the golf ball. Never practiced that in a million years. I've never practiced that. And mostly top players haven't. Otherwise you'll see weighted helmets that everyone will wear. So that's where some things that players are doing, they actually aren't trying to. You'll see some players actually do the opposite, swivel their head. And that's the thing with the arms. They might see a specific movement happen in a downswing, but are they actually doing that with their arms? Most likely not, most likely not. They're just moving their body correctly. Now, some players do try to feel more arm movement. You might have to if you've got a very niche specific problem with this area. That's where golf instruction can't be the same for everyone, but that's very individual. So if you can move your body well in its tilting and its rotational sequencing throughout the downswing, I can guarantee you won't have to think of anything with your arms ever, if you do it well. So have a good go at this drill. unbelievably good drill for so many things, more than just what we talked about here. Such a good drill. And then you have good arm movements. So I hope this is more of a load off a load of your minds there, thinking, oh God, what do I need to think about my arms in a downswing? Maybe you searched this and found this video. Well, you don't have to think of anything, so that's good. Think of less and play better golf. So if you enjoyed this video, click that like button for more golf instruction just like this. Hit the subscribe button and hit the bell button too to be notified every time I put out a video. So do this correctly and you'll be moving your arms perfectly.